through a few of them, don't be concerned. I have, I think, 5 projects to show. I want to start for a few minutes just to give a little bit of background about what is all this work about and where are we up to at the office. As Margaret said, the office is relatively new. In fact, 1999 is when the office did its first project. But as she also said, I spent most of my adult life working for a star architect, 10 years of my life, and that's what I've been doing until about 2005. So the reality is that my office has been open in LA for a year and a half. So most of the work that you'll see was done in that time period. I don't even have a clicker. You're I have a clicker. I was about to click something. So the work has been centered around, since PS1, the project I'm not showing tonight, centered on different kinds of, centering on biology in general and a kind of scientific approach, but more specifically centering on structural performance in relation to biology. And I'm going to show you a few different examples of biological structures that are very interesting to me on 2 levels. One, because they're highly varied and not universalized or conceptualized. Let's say they're not about structural expression, but they're about high performance. But they're also extremely varied and very, very beautiful and elegant. And so in fact, we have a poster that's hanging up in my office, and it's very important for our work. The most important thing, though, about it, more than just sort of its structural performance, is the fact that it can be reproduced computationally. And this is something that's really bizarre and interesting and mysterious the more you learn about it, the relationship between mathematics and biology. And in this case, this is a giant water lily. Those things are about 5 feet wide in diameter. The water lily is trying to maximize its diameter to maximize photosynthesizing potential. And what happens is it starts to lose stability on the outer ring. So it has to develop these structural ribs underneath. It's actually upside down right now. And these structural ribs are following a kind of computation where they branch out from the center point, and then they begin to subdivide when its cell size becomes too large. So you see this incremental subdivision out to the exterior, which can be reproduced in the laboratory. This is something that we're working on. I'll show you in a minute. This is a kind of, we call it the water lily. It's a water lily subdivision routine that we developed in the office, which is based on the same idea of subdivision based on cell size, and gets a wide range of different cells from very large to very micro cells. In this case, it's also responding to curvature of the surface, so you can tell where the surface is very pinched here. Here it's starting to subdivide into smaller cells, so it has a kind of intelligence on that level as well, where it's responding to the tight curvature by having smaller panels or cell sizes. Next. This is a hedgehog spine, of course, it's, to me, it's extremely beautiful because you can see how it evolved over time towards kind of beautiful relationship between strength and weight, and in this case, it's very, very porous. So it's got an incredible amount of strength in terms of like beam action, but it's very porous and very strong. And it's not just a pure cellular aggregation, but it's also defined by these really bizarre, almost plate-like or surface-like elements that run through it. Next. There's a script which is now widely diffused in the architectural scene called the Voronoi, which is it's a computational equivalent of the hedgehog spine. It's generated by a very simple set of points. In this case, 2D points. There's a point at the center of each one of these cells, and this script basically regenerates by finding the median segment, line segment between each cell, and then it proceeds to fill it and connect all of those line segments, and create something that's actually unpredictable and quite beautiful and elegant. Something else that we love is the buttress tree found in the Amazon jungle, among other jungles. Actually found in many locations where there's not stability in the ground. I think it's so beautiful because it's obviously structural. You can see these structural fins coming down from the buttress tree, to reacting to the very soft soil. It couldn't actually stay upright unless it had these structural fins. But it's not a pure structural fin. It's not fanning out in like pure radii at like 30-degree angles or whatever. It's responding to a whole number of different inputs other than structure. So it's performing structurally, but it's also it's kind of finding its way into the soil. I assume it's looking for some kind of minerals or chemicals or some kind of nourishment. I don't know for sure, but what's amazing about it is that it's high performance, yet it varied. The bat wing is becoming very interesting to scientists and especially aerospace researchers because of the fact that the bat can actually change directions in midair, flying one way and it can completely change directions and go the other way. So people who developed the Harrier jet, which some people know, it's one of those jets that can rotate its engines and drop down. They're looking at it now for a new kind of jet which has morph wings, which basically can change shape so that the airplanes can actually change direction. Totally interesting stuff. For now, vaporware, but it's coming. I also like it for its kind of intricate like web of sort of primary structure. These are the bones, a kind of primeval hand, and this infill, which all seems to have a continuity to it, but which is highly differentiated between these primary elements and this one membrane. Even better example of that is the dragonfly wing, which we've done now 3 projects based on. The dragonfly wing is to me just pièce de résistance of this stuff, where you've got multiple patterns interwoven to create structural performance. In this case, actually you have several things that worked. You have the cell size, you have cell density, you have depth, you have some pleating of the wing. All of this stuff is interrelated to create performance of the wing. In particular, you have these quad-shaped cells and these very fat elements here, which create beam-like action or stiffness. And then you have these infill areas defined by the honeycomb pattern, which are very flexible and can move around a little. So next. Something else from aerospace. It's so interesting to see now how jet fighters are being constructed on 2 levels. The first is just the engineering of the thing. It's no longer a kind of universal structural system across the entire jet where you have maybe an egg crate like this running across the whole thing and you sort of decide what material it is and then you engineer it for that. Now it's completely piecemeal and opportunistic. And so if you look at different parts of the jet, the wings now actually I think are titanium egg crate. Some of the fuselage is steel. Other infill areas are aluminum egg crate. The leading edges, the ailerons, and the rear fins are, and I think this too, rear fins are carbon fiber composite material. And in addition to that, all of these independent pieces are being manufactured by different companies. So you have Boeing in there, you have McDonnell Douglas in there, you have Raytheon, you have everybody in there doing different pieces for political reasons certainly, but also for the fact that they're experts at doing a certain kind of construction. So very opportunistic and kind of hybrid construction there. This is a kind of a private interest, something that has not yet made it into the work, but we're working on it. It's the idea of structural color. A lot of color in nature is not based on pigments, so it isn't colored. It's actually this whitish gray color, or lack of color. And the color, in fact, this wing here looks like this at the nanoscale. And so what's happening is the different wavelengths of light are penetrating deeper or less deep into this porous structural formation to create the color. So the wing is multi-optimized. It's a word from biology where it's clearly perforated due to weight versus strength again, like bones. So it's very lightweight. Yet at the same time, the pores are performing to create color patterns.